"Perhaps the queen had too much chocolate," murmured the physician, barely believing the excuse he had just given voice to. He stared at the newborn, freshly delivered in the chambers of Queen Marie-Therese, and felt a chill crawl down his spine. This was no ordinary birth. He wasn't just a witness. He had become a keeper of a secret no one dared to speak aloud. In the queen's lavish apartments, courtiers shifted uneasily. Their expressions were carved in tension. Some whispered prayers, others looked away. All waited for the announcement. Was it a boy or a girl? Was the child alive? The physician stepped into the hall, face pale, steps unsure. "Leave, please," he said hoarsely. "The child. She did not survive." Versailles fell into official mourning. Drapes were drawn, candles lit, silence imposed. But King Louis XIV, the Sun King, mourned not the passing of his daughter, but the wound to his pride. The child had dark skin, and that one detail cast doubt not only on the queen's virtue, but on the very image of his divine sovereignty. The story did not survive through formal records. It slipped through the cracks, captured in memoirs, whispered along corridors, tucked within letters never meant for public eyes. It lingers like the scent of fading perfume, the hush behind velvet curtains, the weight of something left unsaid. Some claim the girl was named Marie Anne, that she lived for 40 days. If so, was her death faked? Was she spared? Hidden? The king could not accept it. He knew. He and his pale-skinned wife could not produce a child with such features. The physician grasped at reasons, piling fiction on fiction. Convulsions darkened her skin, too much Spanish chocolate during pregnancy, fear, perhaps, of the dark-skinned court jester. Even he knew these were not explanations, but masks. The queen's ancestry was renowned for fair skin and golden hair, no trace of Moorish blood, no cause for suspicion. And yet, here was a child that defied every assumption. In a devout Catholic kingdom, a queen's misstep was unthinkable. A king might stray. A queen, never. Madame de Motteville later wrote that the child had died from lack of oxygen. But the sharp-eyed, often cynical Duke of Saint-Simon recorded another impression. She was unusually dark and bore a distinct resemblance to him, the king. A different story began to circulate. The child wasn't dead. She had been spirited away to a convent in Moray-sur-Loing. There, she was christened Louise Marie-Therese and quietly raised, earning the title, the Moorish Girl of Moray. The convent itself was humble, certainly not a place for royal blood. Yet she was treated differently. Why? Madame de Maintenon, the king's devout and influential consort, visited her frequently. Later, even Elizabeth Charlotte of the Palatinate came with her children and grandchildren. Their presence spoke volumes. Observers wrote of her grace, her bearing, her unusual confidence. She carried herself with quiet dignity, one nun later recounted. Not with arrogance, but with assurance, as though she knew something the rest of us did not. In the convent garden, Louise often paused by the trees. She listened. "My brother is hunting," she once said softly. "The Grand Dauphin rides today. I can hear his horn." Some smiled at her fantasy. Others wondered. Could the queen have sought comfort in someone else's arms? In years of isolation without affection, even queens are human, and sorrow has many forms. Another tale suggests Louise was merely a gardener's orphan, that Madame de Maintenon took pity. But then, why the personal visits, the royal allowances, the carefully maintained secrecy? The truth is uncertain. And yet, the mystery endured. Today, where the convent once stood, there is a chocolate factory. History, with all its irony, has looped the tale back to its most whispered explanation. And in the shadows of the past remains the figure of a woman, poised, soft-spoken, and cloaked in enigma. A presence both noble and unclaimed. She became legend, like the man in the iron mask. A name woven into silence. Excerpt from the private journal of Louise Marie-Therese, circa 1701. I often stand by the window and gaze into the forest. Among the trees, I hear the sounds of a hunt. The thundering hooves, the echoing horns, the laughter carried by wind. Sometimes I feel I recognize the voice that calls out. It says, "My sister." I dream of Versailles, of white walls touched by jasmine, of golden halls, of a voice too soft to recall, and warm hands gently cradling a child. Perhaps it's only a dream, or maybe a memory buried deep. I do not know who my mother was, nor if the tales whispered about me are true, but I sense that there is something within me, something larger than silence. When I walk through the corridors, the sisters bow their heads. Not for nobility, but for mystery. And sometimes mystery speaks louder than blood. LMT.